Okay, today's warm-up activity is called Once Upon a Time. Here's how it will work. One workshop member will start telling a story off the top of their head. You'll start your story by saying once upon a time. Then you give the group a sentence or two of the story. Then the next participant will continue making up the story by adding another sentence or two. We keep adding to the story until everyone in the group has spoken twice. The last participant will need to come up with an ending. Remember, this story does not need to make much sense, okay? Just have fun. Use your imagination. Say the first things that pop into your head. Okay, me and my friend Jackie here will give you a demonstration. Once upon a time,
there was a unicorn who broke its horn.
And so the unicorn decided to go to the unicorn store
to buy some horn glue.
But the horn glue didn't work that well, and his horn kept falling off, so he
decided to use a snow cone since it was delicious and beautiful.
The end. Body language, facial expressions, and movement on a stage are all techniques that can help us as storytellers better communicate our stories and make a bigger impact on the audience. We're not necessarily acting on the stage. Rather, what we're doing is using our bodies and the physical space of the stage area to heighten the storytelling experience. Think about when you tell your friend a story. We usually use our hands a little bit. Maybe we express our emotions through our face, like our eyes. Maybe we smile or frown. Sometimes we get so animated when we're telling a story that we start jumping up and down. Or if it's a sadder story, we might sit down and be very still. Now that you have your story outlines, we're going to spend some time adding some physicality to our story presentations. Remember, you do not have to use any physical movement in your story at all. I mean, you might decide that simply delivering your story using your voice is powerful enough, and I would agree with you. But we did want to offer you the chance to work on some of these techniques, just in case you did want to use them. Let's begin by breaking up into groups of two. The pantomime exercises we did in today's warm-up will definitely help you. First, pick a sentence from your outline. Then, read it out loud to your partner. After you say your line, show us what just happened in the line using only your body. You will act it out using pantomime. After you're done, your partner will do the same exercise. I'll demonstrate with a line from the sample outline in our workbook. I was going to my uncle's house to visit him. He was in his late 60s and didn't leave his house very much. He walked with a cane and had a bad leg, so he stayed home most of the time. I hadn't seen him in almost 5 years. This exercise will help us connect physical actions with the words of our story. After the exercise, read each section of your story outline from workshop number 3 out loud to your partner. Okay, here's your homework. It'll be very helpful for you to type your story out now using your outline and notes in your manual. This will be your final version and the one that you'll use to share your story in public if you decide to. Remember, we want it to feel natural and reflect your voice and your personality. There's no right or wrong way to write it as long as we're being true to our stories and ourselves. Discuss with your workshop leader what the best way will be to transcribe your stories from your outlines, your notes, or your audio recordings to a final typed draft. You will use this final draft for the exercises in Workshop 6, so make sure you have a copy before the next session. Also, now that we've practiced using our bodies to help tell our stories, take some time before the next workshop to think about how you might want to use physical movement in your final story presentation. Like we said earlier, you may decide that you don't want to, and that's okay. Make sure that you write short notes to yourself in the margins of your notebook if you decide to use physical movements. Make sure you write down what physical movements that you want to add. Remember, you can always change these ideas as you develop your performance. It's not written in stone. Just use a pencil so you can erase it when you need to. Oh, and one more thing. Make sure you bring a personal object to our next and final workshop. This object could be a blanket, a book, a toy, or a dish. It doesn't matter what it is. Just make sure it's something small that you can hold in your hands.